Assalamu alaikum students. Our today's history topic is the causes of failure of the War of Independence. Already we have studied the reasons for the war as well as the events of the War of Independence. War of Independence was the last attempt by the Indians to get their homeland free from the British domination. They remained totally unsuccessful in that effort. So there were certain reasons for the failure. Let's see. The Indians were not coordinated. They were totally disunited, and the lack of coordination was a main reason for the failure against the British in the war. So there were no general plan and no attempt to work together by different groups. In India, in different parts of India, different groups were fighting for different reasons. So they were having no common aim or objective. Although the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah was the figurehead for all the Indians, but the most Indian princes they didn't really want to see Bahadur Shah restore his powers, nor was there any real sense of nationalism or patriotism. India was too divided for such a feeling. Here is an example. The Punjab and Sindh had been conquered by troops from Bengal and central India in the past during the British time period, and those troops were sent by the British rulers. So those troops now in the during the War of Independence they rose against the British. So they got no support from the people of Punjab and Sindh because already those troops they had conquered Punjab and Sindh on behalf of British rulers. So and furthermore, some of the Indian princes were interested only in restoring their own political feudal authority or powers. So sometimes their powers actually depended upon the support of British. So this explains why the ruler of Kashmir sent 2,000 troops to help the British or to crush the Indians during the War of Independence. It was another fact that only the real uniting force in the war was Islam. The Mughal empire had been created by the Muslims, and they were keen to see Bahadur Shah Zafar as the emperor again. The fact that Muslims were in the minority in the country, and uh, uh, it was mainly Muslim rulers and kings who were being replaced by the Mughal uh, emperors. And however, any degree of a unity amongst the Muslims alarmed even Hindus as well as Sikhs, who were not prepared to fight to restore power to the Mughal Muslim empire. So these were very strong reasons why the British came to the War of Independence as predominantly a Muslim revolt. Now we'll discuss the other side of the failure, reason for the failure of the War of Independence, and it was the British strength. No doubt, the major reason for the failure of the Indians was that the British were too strong. Britain was one of the most powerful state in the world at that time, and its troops were experienced in warfare and highly trained in modern techniques or methods of fighting. They also had a good reputation for discipline on the battlefields. Already we have discussed the same fact during the time period of the East India Company. The only hope the Indians had to defeat the British was that there should be general uprising across most of the India, and for the Indian troops to act together it was. The British kept control in more than three quarters of their possessions. They were extremely skilled diplomats, and they knew that most of the Indians rulers were fighting to restore their own political powers or authorities or rights. So the British, they got benefit by looking at the very weak political situations or circumstances of India, and they knew well, they were well aware about the Indian Nawabs, Rajas, and rulers, that they were working for they were working to establish their own power, not to establish a united India. So uh, uh, it was quite easy for the British to take the advantages while looking at the weak political and administrative system of India. So they were having very strong military might with them. So these were the strong reasons behind the failure of the War of Independence. And the next time, in the next lecture, we will discuss the effects of the War of Independence, as well as the British policies adopted in the later time period, inshallah.